Oh man, I'm excited for this movie. I love it. Hey everybody. So I'm doing a movie review for the movie Free State of Jones. And it's written and directed by Gary Ross, but also has a story written by Leonard Hartman. And it's starring Matthew McConaughey, Gugu Mbatha Raw, and Mahershala Ali. And I'm sorry if I pronounce those names wrong, but for fans of mine, you know I have a hard time pronouncing things. I just want to say I love this movie. I love it. Oh man, I love it so much. So for those of you guys that have been watching some of my reviews and reactions and things like that, is I love period pieces. I love movies that take place in a period of time that is not my own. And mostly in the past, I'm a huge history buff. I like learning about history. And this movie is a history buff's dream. I love this movie. I love it so much. Now, I have a couple of problems with it, and I'll get into that when I get into my spoilers part. And I will touch on it a little bit right now. But this is a spoiler-free review. And I just want to give my impressions of the movie and my suggestion on what, I think if you should watch it or not. Matthew McConaughey and the other actors, all of the actors in this movie, even the side characters, every actor in this movie was amazing. Like, I did not see one scene where I thought, okay, that wasn't acted very well. I was blown away by the acting of everyone. I have to give credit to all of the actors involved in this movie and to the writer-director Gary Ross for pulling those performances. They were awesome. Awesome. Now, there are some people that aren't going to like this movie because it doesn't have the three-act, have a villain gets taken over thing. This is more of it's a historical drama, and so you're following the timeline of what's going on during the history of this person's life, McConaughey's life. And so it felt more like a documentary than it did a three-act play or standard story movie, which I'm fine with because I love documentaries. Now, there were parts in the movie that I thought could have been cut out because the movie is 3 hours long, and it did drag for a couple of things and then had some moments that I thought were out of place or just not in the right place. But other than that, I loved it. Oh, I loved it so much. I'm really excited. I just got home from seeing it, and I'm like on euphoria from seeing this movie. I want to buy this movie. This is going to be one of my favorite movies of the year, just to say. So I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. And I'm going to get into why I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 in my spoiler section of the review. But I would say that this is a strong 8.5, and I love this movie. If you have a chance to go see it, I would highly suggest go seeing it, especially if you are into historical dramas. It was directed beautifully, beautifully directed. A lot of the shots were not to be there. How do I say this? So some directors want the actual shooting of the scene to overtake the actual scene. And Gary Ross doesn't do that. What he does is he sets up the scene to support the story and then directs it the way that it should be directed as best it can. Now, there were a couple of parts that had too much shaky cam, but I can overlook those because there was only like 2 or 3 scenes that I noticed, and they were very short. So I would say it was beautifully shot, beautifully lit. I have to give the cinematographer huge props on how it was lit. And my favorite part of the whole movie, not just the acting and the directing and the story itself, was the production design. I love period pieces, so I love seeing the production on that kind of quality. It was so good. So the people that did the set design and the backgrounds and the costumes, oh man, the costumes were so great. I felt like I was in 1865 watching this movie. The costumes and the actors and the all of it, it looked awesome. And then the story I was totally involved in. I was in there the whole time. I was actually a lot more surprised than I was. Going in, I thought it would be an okay movie. Coming out, I was excited. Like it was, my mind was blown. It was such a good historical drama. Like I have not seen a historical drama this good since Gettysburg, which came out in the early 90s. So hats off, man, Gary Ross. Hats off. Awesome. So now I'm going to get into some spoilers. Spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie yet and you want to go see it, go watch the movie. If you're not worried about it, you don't want to see the movie, or if you've already seen it, keep watching. But if you, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, so come back and watch the rest of this video after you see the movie if it's something you want to watch. So there was a section in the movie where it took place 85 years later. And what they were doing is they're trying to show a courtroom in the 1950s-ish era. And this guy is trying to marry somebody. So, white guy trying to marry a white woman. But his race is in court because he might be 1/16 black. Which was mind-blowing. It's just stupid how dumb it was. However, it pulled me out of the movie when they first did it, because they didn't get to that first scene until about a half an hour into the movie. And they went 85 years later. And I was like, what? And that pulled me out of the movie. I was like, what are you doing? I don't get that. And you don't get the payoff for that until the end of the movie, where you find out, like, that he is the son or an ancestor of Matthew McConaughey's character, and they're trying to set up the love interest that's going on in the movie, and that the fact that he might be or is an ancestor of their relationship, and that's why they can't get married in Missouri. And what they're doing is they're showing that no matter that after the Civil War, even though the Union won, racism and all of the laws that were created after that were just in place to create more racism. So the movie doesn't end at the Civil War. When the Civil War is over, that's only like the first hour of the movie. The rest of the movie takes place after the Civil War, because there's a bunch of information on even though they emancipated all of the slaves, but then you had a bunch of laws that went into place that kept them as slaves. And he fought those, Matthew McConaughey's character and his group, they fought those laws. They fought, all of the other racism that was going on during that time. And you didn't really get a payoff until the 1960s, when everything was kind of legally taken off and everybody was legally considered equal. Racism still continues today, obviously. But in the movie, what I loved about it was it didn't just end after the Civil War was over. That was just the first part. The rest of the movie takes place after that. And you get to see what is going on during that whole time. I loved that. Now, my brother had Adam pointed out when we saw it, that, because I said we should just cut out all of the 85 years later parts, because it was pulling me out of the current story that I'm trying to watch. And my brother said, hey, if you started that earlier in the movie, then we would be on board. And I agree with that. Because if you had opened the movie with the 85 years later in the court, and then went to the McConaughey movie, then if you cut back, that's fine. I don't mind that. But there were only like 3 parts in the movie that went to the 85 years later. And those 3 parts pulled me out of the story that I was watching. So if you're going to do that back and forth of time difference, you need to set that up earlier in the movie. Otherwise, just cut the whole thing out and make it a short story that you put on the Blu-ray or the DVD as a special feature or documentary or something. So either start that earlier in the movie or just cut it out altogether. For the movie that I watched, I would have preferred they either could just cut it out. But if they wanted to do that to show what was going on, that, racism and the legal system was still being racist in the future, 85 years later, that they were still dealing with that, then start those scenes earlier in the movie. Other than that, I loved it. I absolutely loved this movie. I'm going to buy it. I want to know the special features. I want to see the interviews. I'm on board with this movie. So if you've seen the movie, comment below and let me know what you thought. If not, go watch the movie. Come back. Also, you can check out my Patreon over here somewhere. And I've got my social media links in the middle. I just started an Instagram yesterday. I don't really know what to do with it, but I'm just posting stuff on there when I get it. And I've got a, over here-ish, here, there-ish, is my mailbox. You can mail me stuff. So go ahead and mail me things if you want. I'm going to do some unboxings if I actually get anything in the mail. But let me know what you think. Comment below, let me know. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends. And I will see you on the next video.